Welcome to the very first episode of Trivia Cast. I'm your host, Nikhil, and since this is the first episode, I figured I would start with some background on why I'm creating this podcast. So over the last couple of months, I've gotten pretty into attending trivia nights with friends and coworkers, and I've also started hosting trivia nights weekly with my friends. And I also have started listening to some trivia podcasts, but I haven't quite found one that matched the types of questions and trivia games that appeal to me. So, since I was already making weekly trivia for my friends, I figured why not convert some of that into a podcast. So as far as the format, I've got 3 different rounds of trivia lined up for today. The first will be a standard game of 5 trivia questions. The second will be a round of Guess the Decade. And the last will be a special game I call 1, 2, 3, and I'll get more into the rules on how that works later. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into our first trivia game, Standard Trivia. Question 1. This Los Angeles rock band was founded as a duo by 2 brothers in 1998 and later expanded into a 4-man group. Question 2. Sterling silver is composed of 92.5% silver. What is the remaining 7.5%? Question 3. What does an individual with paganophobia have an extreme dislike of? Question 4. With a current population of 38,000, what is the smallest sovereign state that has won an Olympic gold medal? And question 5. What account has the most liked tweet of all time with over 7 million likes? Alright, so you can go ahead and pause there if you need a bit more time to think, but I will read back through the questions and provide the answers as we go. So starting with question 1, this Los Angeles rock band was founded as a duo by 2 brothers in 1998 and later expanded into a 4-man group. That would be 30 Seconds to Mars, founded by Jared Leto, of course, and his lesser-known brother, Shannon Leto. Question 2. Sterling silver is composed of 92.5% silver. What is the remaining 7.5%? That would be copper. Question 3. What does an individual with paganophobia have an extreme dislike of? That is beards, coming from the Greek stem pogon, which means beard. And another way to remember that one is that the genus of bearded dragons is Pagona. Question 4. With a current population of 38,000, what is the smallest sovereign state that has won an Olympic gold medal? That would be Liechtenstein, who won 2 gold medals in the 1980 Winter Olympics, both in alpine skiing. And question 5. What account has the most liked tweet of all time with over 7 million likes? That is Chadwick Boseman. The tweet coming from his family about his untimely and unfortunate passing a couple of years ago. Alright, well done if you got those correct for round number 1. And we will be moving on to our second game, which is Guess the Decade. For this game, I will be providing 3 events that all happened in the same decade, and your job will be to guess what decade all the events happened in, and bonus points if you can identify the exact year that any of the events happened in. When I read back through them for a second time, I will also provide 1 additional event that happened in the decade, just as a bit of a bonus clue, and then I will give the answer. Event number 1, Walt Disney's death. Event number 2, Hot Wheels released their very first cars in the US. And event number 3, the Berlin Wall was constructed. I'll read through those one more time and also give a bonus event, so go ahead and pause it if you want to try to guess the decade without the bonus. Number 1, Walt Disney's death. Event 2, Hot Wheels released their very first cars in the US. Event number 3, the Berlin Wall was constructed. And for the bonus event, Yuri Gagarin became the first human to enter space. So once again, you're guessing what decade all of these events occurred in, and that would be the 1960s. Walt Disney died in 1966, Hot Wheels released their very first cars in the US in 1968. The Berlin Wall was constructed in 1961. And Yuri Gagarin entered space in 1962. So well done if you got those correct, and we can go ahead and jump into our final game of the episode, 1, 2, 3. So, for this game, first of all, credit to the Pub Trivia Group podcast, where I got the idea for this game, and they did a similar one with 1 to 10. This game has become one of the favorites for my weekly trivia that I host with my friends, and so I'm trying out a shorter form adapted version of the game here on the podcast. So the way this will work is I will be providing you 3 different topics, and the number of answers for each of those topics will either be 1, 2, or 3. So, as an example, I could give you the topic Female Prime Ministers of the UK. So you would first have to identify there have been 3 female Prime Ministers of the UK, and then you would name them Liz Truss, Margaret Thatcher, and Theresa May. So I will be providing you 3 topics. Each one will have a number of answers, either 1, 2, or 3. Each of those will only be used one time, and then you will have to guess what the answers are to each of those topics. So I will go ahead and provide the topics. They are Steven Spielberg Academy Award wins for Best Director, US presidents who were impeached, and nations that have won the Curling World Championship since 2018. So I will read through those again one more time. Steven Spielberg Academy Award wins for Best Director, US presidents who were impeached, and nations that have won the Curling World Championship since 2018. So one of those will have 1 answer, one will have 2, and one will have 3. So first you need to guess which is which, and then you need to guess the answers within each of those categories. So go ahead and pause it here if you want to take a minute and think about it. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and go through the 1, 2, and 3 identifiers for which topic is which. So Steven Spielberg Academy Award wins for Best Director. There are 2. US presidents who were impeached. There are 3. And nations that have won the Curling World Championship since 2018, there is only 1. So I'll give you one more chance to pause here now that you have that information if you want to take a stab at the final answers. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and run through them. Steven Spielberg won the Best Director Academy Award for Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. The US presidents who were impeached are Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump. A reminder that Nixon resigned before the impeachment could actually take place. And nations that have won the Curling World Championship since 2018 is Sweden. They defeated Canada in the finals several of those times, but Sweden is the only nation that has come out on top. So that's going to conclude the first episode of TriviaCast. Again, this is your host, Nikhil. I hope you enjoyed the trivia. Please feel free to reach out using the contact information in the show notes if you have any feedback on types of games you'd like to see, types of questions, what you liked, didn't like. Since this is new for me, I'd love to hear some feedback. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Thanks for listening.